Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi amma ba'd. Dear brothers, on this night preceding the 23rd of the month of Rajab, the year 1440, we are not going to take a new lesson, but we are going to have some questions and answers and some review from the first 18 lessons, insha'Allah ta'ala. So a chance for you to catch up. I'd like to see i'rab in practice. So I'm going to, let's read a surah and I'll stop on an i'rab, a point of i'rab that you should know. And these are not necessarily any examples that we've rehearsed before, but based on the principles you've been learning, you should be able to make i'rab of certain words. Yeah, and I'll try to keep the examples controlled. Let's go with Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. I'm going to stop here on the word نعبد. نعبد. I'm going to ask someone to make i'rab of the verb نعبد. Who can do it? Ibrahim, تفضل. نعبد. فعل مضارع مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة. Anyone have any complaints or problems with that? That's very well done. Barakallahu fiqh. That's what you should be able to do at this time. You should be able to say, okay, maybe إياك, I'm not so sure what that is, but نعبد, I see a فعل مضارع. And I know the فعل مضارع from the علامات الرفع is a ضمة, and the ضمة works for فعل مضارع. نعبد. Here it's جماعة, نحن نعبد, like يعبد وتعبد, without any suffix at the end of the verb, and no noon, a tawkid or anything, then it's a ضمة as a sign of رفع. So this is فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه الضمة. All right, and you could add الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. Not necessary, but you could add it. All right, then the next verb that's right there, إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. نستعين. Who's going to make i'rab of نستعين? Take the lead of your brother. Go ahead, Jibril. فعل مضارع مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. نستعين. نستعين. All right. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. الصراط. There's a fatha on that ta. اهدنا الصراط. Who's going to make i'rab of this word الصراط? Who's got it? Ibrahim again? All right, تفضل. اسم منسوب وعلامة نصبه الفتحة. You could say الظاهرة على آخره. طيب. Very well done, Ibrahim. That's what we're looking for so far. We should be able to see a noun here. As-sirat. How do you know it's a noun? Go to your lessons all the way from the beginning. Ibrahim knew this was an ism. How did he know it was an ism, ya Siddiq? The alif and the other thing with the alif? The alif lam. Alif lam in the beginning is from alamatul asma, right? Alamatul asma, from the signs of an ism, is alif lam. What are the other, since we opened that subject up, and this is review, what are the signs of an ism? We've got one of them, alif lam, the ta'rif. What else? Tanween is a sign of an ism. Verbs don't have tanween, yeah, except with rare occasions written in the mushaf. But normally, verbs don't have tanween. And huruf don't have tanween. Harfs don't have tanween. So only isms have tanween. What else? Khafd, yeah, being makhfood or majroor. When you say this word is makhfood, there's no fi'l makhfood. There's no such thing as a fi'l makhfood. It doesn't exist. It's not a case that you can use for a verb. It's only for asma. It's only for nouns. So when we say it's makhfood, and another word for makhfood is majroor, so either the jar case or the khafd case, that is a sign of it being an ism. What's another one? دخول حروف الخفض. using the language of Ibn Ajrumiyyah, then we say huruf al-khafd, the harfu khafd, or what others would call harfu jar, in front of a word. What are these words, these huruf al-khafd? What are they? Who can give me some examples of them? Fi, wal-ba'. What else? Wa-ila, wa-ala, wa-an, wa-rubba, wa-min, wal-kaf, wal-lam. And there's another kind of harf. It's a harfu khafdin, but it's for a specific purpose that the author also added those. There's 3 of them. Huruf al-qasam. Yeah, they're also huruf al-khafd because they do the khafd action. What are they? What 3 are those? Yeah, Ubaid. Ba, ta, and wow. So you can say wallahi, tallahi, billahi. Yeah, the wow is maftuha, wallahi. And the ba is maksura, billahi. You don't say ballahi, but you say billahi. And the ta is maftuha, tallahi as well. All of them are khafilat. They are things that make the ism after it makhfud. Tayyib. So that's a little review of what are the signs of an ism. All right. Then what are the signs of a fi'l then that Ibn Ajrumiyyah mentions? You said lam. That's a sign of a fi'l, but that's something we added. What's a sign of a fi'l? Qad. The word qad coming before the verb. Qad sami'a, qad yasma'u. Whatever comes after qad is a fi'l. Nice. So a sign of a fi'l is the word qad. You can't say qad zayd, qad jabir. You can't do that. You can say qad adhabu, qad la adhabu. I could use qad like that for ihtimal, maybe, maybe not. I could say قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Certainly, using qad for tawkid with a fi'l madhi. Certainly the one who purifies himself, his soul is successful. Qad. Okay, what else is a sign of a fi'l? Seen. Wasawfa. Seen wasawfa. And these are indicators of that present tense verb being for the future. Sayaf'alu. Sawfa yaf'alu. Like that. So that seen and that sawfa, they are signs of a fi'l. Right? And for the one learning Arabic, that scene is not so easy to identify because there's a whole lot of scenes. And how does he know that's the scene that makes it a fi'l? You know, he doesn't really know. Like the word masjid has a scene in it, and the word sajid has a scene in it, and he doesn't know that that scene is not a sign of being a fi'l. So that scene is hard to use for those who are learning Arabic. But it's the scene that comes in the beginning of a present tense verb that makes it shift to the future. All right, what else? Seen, sofa, and qad. What else? Ta, ta'nith as-sakina. And that's in verbs or nouns? Or both? These are signs of fi'ls, ya Jibreel. Barakallahu fik. These are the signs of the fi'l. So we mean the ta'nith as-sakina. It comes at the end of a present or past tense verb? Past tense verbs. Ya qalat, akalat, sharibat, jarasat, hadarat. Like that. Comes at the end of a past tense verb and has a sukoon on it. It's maftuha, a shakal. Maftuhat al-shakal. Sakinat al-dabd. It's maftuha in the way it looks. It's opened up. It's not the ta marbuta, which is wrapped up. It's the ta opened up. And it's the sakina in terms of the dabd. It doesn't have a dhamma, kasra, or fatha. It's sakina. So it's sakina and maftuha. And when we say maftuha, we mean the shape. Not the sign of, not the diacritical marking. And the diacritical marking is sukoon, so it's sakina. Ta'nith, as-sakina. All right, then what's the sign of a harf? What makes something a harf?
Anything that's not a fi'l or ism.
Okay, whatever's not a fi'l or an ism. And Ibn Ajrumiyyah, he says whatever doesn't have dalil al-fi'l or dalil al-ism, whatever doesn't have a sign of an ism or a fi'l. So then, Aisha, does it have a sign of ism from the signs listed by Ibn Ajrumiyyah? No alif lam, no tanween, no harfu khafd here. Ja'at Aisha. No harfu khafd, that's not makhfud. So it doesn't have a sign of being an ism. And of course it doesn't have a sign of being a fi'l because it is an ism. But it doesn't have any of those signs, so does, by definition, is it a harf then? No, that would be wrong. So then, to adjust his definition, it's ما ليس باسم ولا فعل. It's what is not an ism and it's not a fi'l, whether or not it has the signs of being an ism or a fi'l. That's kind of a definition that requires you to know what the words are in order to know it's an ism. I have to know it's a fi'l or an ism in order to say it's not either of those. I have to know what an ism is and a fi'l is in order to know this is not one of those. This must be a harf in that case. طيب. We talked about the علامات الإعراب. علامات الإعراب. What are, سؤال, ما هي علامات الإعراب الأصلية? What are the original signs of i'rab? Al-arba'a. There's 4 of them. These are the root signs, the first sign, the sign that all the other signs are niyabatan anha. All the other signs are in place of it because this is the asl. What do you say, Jibril? Give me maybe just an example and everybody else will see it from there. Give me one of the 4. Ad-damma. And it's an alama asliya for what case? For rafa. طيب. So then the alama for raf is ad-damma. Al-alamat al-asliya. That's the original sign of something being marfu. It's a dhamma. So then when you have another sign like thubutu nun, you can say in a detailed i'rab wa alamatu raf'ihi thabatu nun or thubutu nun or a nun niyabatan an al-dhamma. Right? Because the dhamma is the original sign of rafa and then the other signs would be secondary in place of the first original sign. That's the dhamma, is one of the 4 original signs of i'rab. What are the other 3? Or one of the other 3? What do you say, Ibrahim? The fatha, okay. And for the mansub words, the fatha is the alama asliya. It is the original base sign of something being mansub. And so all the other signs become secondary and niyaba on al-asl. Tayyib, ya Sultan, you got another one. We got a dhamma and a fatha. A kasra, you throw that one in there, kasra. So that's a sign of what case? Makhfud, yeah, the word's makhfud, the case is khafd, or majroor and jar. That has a kasra as the alama asliya, the original sign. Then all the other ones are niyabatan anha. And then the last one then is the waw, the sukun, yeah, the sukun. The sukun is actually not a real alama because it's the absence of an alama. It's the absence of a thing. It's no sign. Yeah, the sukun means no dhamma, no kasra, no fatha, no sound. Stop, don't say anything. So the absence of something, that's the sign of jazm. That's the sign of the majzoom case. And we haven't actually got into the majzoom case, so you might be looking at that like that's a little bit unfamiliar to me, and you should. Because we get into the majzoom case when? Lesson 24. After we finish the makhfud cases. طيب. جيد. Nice little review back to where we started from. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم من يعرب لنا المستقيم. المستقيم. Who's going to make i'rab of the word مستقيم? In Surah Al-Fatiha, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. There's a fatha on the end of it. What's the i'rab? Who knows? You want to try it, Siddiq? You look ambitious. It's mansub. But before you say mansub, I need you to identify which part of speech is it? Ism, fi'l, or harf? It's an ism because of that alif lam. Okay, al-mustaqima. All right, so you got an ism. And you've already said mansub. Nice, yeah. Ismun mansubun alamatu nasbihi al-fatha. That's exactly where you should be right now. Barakallahu feekum. Alhamdulillah. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. There's nothing else I want to ask you about in Surah Al-Fatiha. So then, let me ask you about the verb أعوذ in بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس. قل أعوذ. يا عبيد أعرب أعوذ. فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. Nice. طيب. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس. Lots of majrurat here I don't want to ask you about. الذي يوسوس. There we go. يوسوس. Who's going to make i'rab of يوسوس? Don't be intimidated by the strangeness of the verb. يوسوس. What do you say, Jibril? يوسوس. فعل مضارع. مرفوع. وعلامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. Nice. يوسوس في صدور الناس. Nice. The word sudur, is it an ism, fi'l, or a harf, and why? The word sudur, is it an ism, is it a fi'l, or is it a harf, and why? So does that answer my question? It's an ism. All right, it's an ism, and it's a jamu taksir. Sudur is the plural of sadr. طيب. How did you know it was an ism? From Ibn Ajurum's signs. It's makhfud and harfu khafd. They're not exactly the same thing. Two different signs that are generally they go together, but you can be makhfud bil idafa or makhfud bil tabi'iyya. But here it's makhfud because of harfu khafd. And the fact that it's makhfud, no matter what the reason is, that's also a sign of it being an ism. So it's an ism. Sudur, maybe I have no clue what that word is in my vocabulary, but whatever it is, it's an ism because it comes after fi. Because it comes after fi, it must be an ism that's makhfud. Nice. في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح. أعرب والفتح. والفتح. Oh, throw it out there. اسم مرفوع. وعلامة رفعه الضمة. Now the full i'rab, we would try to identify what kind of marfu' is it. Is it a fa'il? Is it a mubtada? Is it khabaru inna? We have lots of reasons why a word would be marfu'. Right now, we're not going into that. We're just saying it's an ism. Yeah, in this case, it happens to be ma'tuf ala al-fa'il. إذا جاء نصر Allah. That's the fa'il. We'll get into that later. But right now, we just want to know that it's a noun, it's an ism, and it's marfu'. And the sign of it being marfu' is the dhamma. Wal fathu. So we know it's an ism because of the alif lam on it. Al-fath. Right after the wow al-atf. Al-fathu. And we know it's marfu' because of the dhamma. We put those clues together and we got ismun marfu'un alamatu raf'ihi ad-dhamma. Nice. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ مَنْ يُعْرِبُ لِي النَّاسَ. Sultan, can you do it? النَّاسَ. It's an ism. Mansub, yeah, it's got a fatha on it. It's mansub. Nice. وعلامة نصبه الفتحة or علامة نصبه الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. ورأيت الناس يدخلون. Here comes a question. يدخلون. A little different than what we've had so far. Who can make i'rab of the word يدخلون? Oh, nice. He says يدخلون فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه ثبوت النون. Nice. And why? Why is it ثبوت النون? If I want to say لأنه, what I want you to do is say لأنه min something. It's some special category of things that the noon is the. Nice. لأنه من الأفعال الخمسة. Because it's from the 5 verbs. These 5 verbs have another name. Al-af'al al-khamsa or? Al-amthilatu al-khamsa. And what are they? Who can name all 5 of them for me?
يكتبون تكتبون يكتبان تكتبان تكتبين.
Nice. Yeah, those 5 scales. Whether you say, like you said, تكتبون يكتبون تكتبان يكتبان تكتبين, those 5 right there. Or whether you said تجلسون يجلسون تجلسان يجلسان تجلسين, whatever verb you put in there, it's those 5 scales. They're called the amthila khamsa. They have a noon when they're marfu'a only. And when that noon is missing, that means it is? What's the case? It's not marfu'a now, it is? Mansub. Or majzoom. Nice. Because they're verbs, there's no makhfud, right? So it's either mansub or majzoom when there's no noon. But if the noon is there, you know for sure it's marfu'. That's the thing. It's the special sign of it being marfu', the noon being there. So when you see the word yajlisu, there's no noon. Yajlisu. Maybe you don't know if it's majzoom or mansub, but you know it's not marfu'. Nice. All right. So we've got our af'al al-khamsa. And since we mentioned al-af'al al-khamsa, then we have to remember something else, some other 5 things. Al-asma al-khamsa. What are they? Siddiq. You know what asma al-khamsa? I'll give you the first one. Abuka. Those, yeah. Abuk. Akhuka. Iyakum wad-dukhula ala nisa. Don't go where the women are. Ya Rasulullah, ra'aytum al-hamu. قال الحمو الموت. حموكي. أيوة حموكي. What else? Or dhu mal, all right. Before dhu mal, the mouth. Fook. Yeah, fook. So abuka wa akhuk. Wa hamuki, wa fuka, wa dhu malin. Nice. Those are the asma' khamsa. What's so special about these asma' khamsa? Why do we study them and what's the point? What's so important about them? The wow in the asma'. So it's abuka, and that wow means it's marfu'. Ja'a abuka. Ja'a abuka. That means abuka here is marfu'. Alamatu raf'ihi al-wow li'annahu min al-asma' al-khamsa. Nice. So then we did the alif being a sign of something being mansub. And that was for the asma' khamsa, right? So ra'aytu abaka. Ra'aytu Aba Hurairah. Daraba Zaydun Aba Amrin. So then Aba with the alif is the sign of it being mansub. And we haven't talked about the makhfulat yet, have we? So then we'll get to that. But you know it already. An Abi Hurairata. You've heard it so many times. It's not an Abu Hurairah. And it's not an Aba Hurairah. It's an Abi Hurairata radiyallahu anhu. So then those are the asma' khamsa. When we say the asma' khamsa and the af'al khamsa, the 5 nouns, the 5 verbs. Abi Hurairah, Aba Hurairah, Abu Hurairah, when it's mansub, marfu' and makhfu'. طيب. We've had a nice little review session. Barakallahu feekum. I don't want to keep you any longer. May Allah Ta'ala bless you. Any questions you have about what we've studied? Yeah, okay, so let's finish with that question. Af'al khamsa and asma' khamsa. Is it 5 words here and 5 words there? Is it exactly like that?
Just those 5.
So the asma' khamsa are really those 5 words, not scales. Just the word ab with a wow on it, abu so-and-so. And only when they're mudaf, when they have a connection to what's after it. But those words alone, no other words, except those 5 isms. But then the af'al khamsa, they're just examples. That's why they're called the amthila al-khamsa. Because it can be thousands and thousands of verbs, literally. All from those 5 scales of verbs. Taf'aluna, tajlisuna, tansuruna, tadkhuluna. All of that's from the asma al-khamsa. You change the verb. It's about that scale, though. That's a scale of the 5 verbs. It's a broad way to apply that to thousands of verbs versus those 5 nouns. It's only 5 nouns ever. That's all it is. Or you can say it's 6 according to Ibn Hisham al-Ansari and other scholars of the language. They added on another 6th one, which we won't really worry about. It's very rare anyway. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammad.